Why did you even think that this could work?
Well, Emma, actually, it was my job back then to figure out the future direction for the company while the current business was going strong. And looking into the future, it was easy to see the baby boomers were going to be turning 50. The healthcare system was already somewhat broken. Health and wellness was going to be huge in the new millennium. And so we looked at health and wellness products. I was fascinated with juicing.
Yeah.
And came very close to buying a juicing company on behalf of the company. But in the process of doing that and testing it, our sons were teenagers at the time. Within about a week, the shopping was fun, the chopping, the slopping into the juicer, but the mopping is where the rubber hit the road. And every night there was an argument as to which of the three sons was supposed to clean it up. And no, I did it last night. No, you did it. I did it last night. It's your turn. So clearly there was an issue with the convenience factor of juicing. And in that process, we met a naturopath who was actually selling juicers that had this idea, the idea of Juice Plus. And when he talked to me about it, I said, well, this is a fantastic idea. Why haven't you done it? He said, well, everybody tells me it can't be done. And what he meant was that you can't, it's too difficult to dry the juice at low temperature so that you don't damage the nutrients. That was the key. So I licensed the idea from him on behalf of the company and set about to find partners who could help us break the code as to how to do it. And essentially the rest is history. So really, the original concept was a convenient and affordable form of juicing to get the benefits of all those phytonutrients in a convenient and affordable form.
Mark, I'm going to bring you in here now because you're very much a partner at this juncture with John and NSA as it was then and Juice Plus. When you came across the concept of essentially taking the water out of fruits and vegetables and putting it into a capsule, tell us about your role with your company NAI in having that come to fruition.
Well, we were looking at how do we extract the best and leave the worst behind. You heard Mitra talking about fibers and all these other components that are found in fruits and vegetables. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that you don't really want as well, which is lots of sugars. So we were able to work with John and our team of experts and extract the phytochemicals that make up that little segment at the bottom of your juice. If you juice things and you let it sit for a period of hours,
the sediment
the little sediment at the bottom, there's just this little fraction. We were able to figure out how to get that out of the juice, leave all the other stuff behind, and in that way concentrating this. So we were taking really all of the good and kind of none of the bad. And then working very carefully with Dr. John Weiss and others on my team to figure out technically how do we make it stable. And so we decided to put it in a capsule, which is a very elegant environment, and proceeded to do some clinical studies along with John and his team, and the rest is history.
And really, I mean, in 1996, so it's 20 years ago from the very first clinical study that was looking at the effect of Juice Plus on the blood that came to be the current therapeutic research. So 20 years ago, John, you started with NAI, with the whole program that we now see today that really has set Juice Plus apart from all the other nutritional supplements out there.
Yes, right. Before I go to that, Mark's talking about the original process. Today, we don't extract anything. Everything that's in the fruits and vegetables except the water is in Juice Plus, including the sugar, the fiber, everything. And keeping the fibers modulates the sugar. That's why an apple is low glycemic. That's why fruits and vegetables are low glycemic. So it's all there, still there in nature's balance. And we did that by keeping the fiber. You know, the old juicing method where you have a home juicer and you throw away the pulp, we don't do that. It all comes through. And the fiber is the key, and it ties a lot into what Mitra was saying.
Yeah.
So, the big question in the beginning was, gosh, you know, we started with all these fruits and vegetables, and even though the capsules are pretty large, did we really get enough concentrated nutrition in there to do people good. It actually was a question of Jay Martin, because he's the one ultimately who has to decide for the company. He's the final word, and he said, I like the concept, but is it really going to work? And so that was the genesis of going into the lab and doing our first clinical study. And actually John Weiss, Dr. John Weiss, who is no longer with us unfortunately, was on Mark's staff, and he helped us start up the first clinical research program where we looked at the bioavailability of the nutrients and also how that increased the phytonutrients and antioxidants in the blood serum. And that's the first step of a product doing you some good. It's got to get into the system.
And this is the first, black and white proof that it was actually affecting the profile of the blood, and therefore the health of the individual.
And from there came, well, if it's in the blood, what's it doing? It's just what antioxidants are supposed to do. It's reducing oxidative stress.
Yeah.
And then we found out reducing inflammation and providing all these other benefits that 35 published studies, you heard yesterday from Dr. Lamprecht, unbelievable depth and breadth of clinical research on this product.
And I always say as a nutritionist, if you're not absorbing it, there's no point, right? That's it. It's not doing anything if it's not absorbed. Manfred, I want to bring you in now because we heard from you yesterday, and we know that you're the Director of Clinical Research now. You've kind of taken the baton over from John in recent years in spearheading the research program. But originally you were a lead author for some of the studies that we've seen. And the beauty of this type of science, this peer-reviewed gold standard science, is that you're an unbiased author, you're an unbiased scientist. You went from being an outsider, if you will, to being Director of Clinical Research. Tell us about that leap for you and what that means for you as a professional and what it means for you as a scientist.
I can tell you my motivation for the decision to work for the company now. Or I can answer it with a question. What would you do if you as a researcher, if a company with the best nutraceutical research program in the world wants to hire you? So you will
say
do
yes.
hard. Yeah, you would say yes. So I mean,
would, by the way.
So.
Are you asking?
So this was this was the first reason, I would say, but there's a second one as well. I'm now, I think the company we approached in 04, 05, 11, 12 years ago, and from the very beginning, I felt very, very comfortable in this company. And I have contacts and had contacts to many other companies in the field as well. And when I compare this to others, when I came to a Juice Plus event, I felt like coming to a family. So the climate was so welcoming me, so that there's also a social reason, I would say. It's the scientific reason, the scientific program. It's the highest standard and the highest level. If you can continue the work on that, it's a great job for me. And the second is also the social reason and the feeling so welcomed here. And so that's why I decided to move a little bit away from the university duties and much more to the.
But it's not always an easy step for researchers to make to go into a corporate setting, because you feel like you have to maybe toe the line a little bit. It's not quite like that for you, is it?
I mean, there are some minor other reasons as well, and one is I like it if things can really happen a little bit faster, and if you can accomplish ideas. In the university setting, sometimes for me it takes me too long with too much bureaucracy, and I have the feeling here I can still stay as genuine as I was before. I do not have to change anything in my research communication as I did before. I can still stay the same person, do the same research communication as I did before. It's just in another setting.
That is so important. I think everybody needs to know that, because you have to apply that same, factual, unbiased approach to things. The results are the results. They speak for themselves, and that's it. They are what they are.
They do not force me in any way to say something I do not like to say or I cannot stand for.
Now, I want to bring our clinicians into the conversation now, because we're hearing from the production and the research side of things, but the practicalities of it and the applications of Juice Plus in the greater clinical setting, or the greater, health and well-being setting, is what we want to talk about. Dr. Sheehan, Dr. Anthony Sheehan, you are from the UK, but you transplanted yourself over to Memphis. And you were a former Director General of the NHS, I believe.
That's right, the Department of Health. In fact, I'm from Birmingham. We should get a shout out.
No way! Yeah, you're home. You are home.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly.
Okay, but you work now in the US. Tell us, how those two healthcare systems are similar and differ.
They're similar in some ways. So the quality of services is pretty much the same, Emma. Doctors and nurses are trained in pretty much the same way. What's really very different, though, and very significant for us in the US, is that people don't have access to universal care. And that's a real problem. So the clinics we run in a pretty poor part of the United States, in fact, in Memphis, Tennessee, 90% of the people we see in our clinics don't have insurance. And what that means is they come with two concerns, two fears. Now, you should only ever go to your doctor with one fear, and that fear is about the illness you're experiencing, right? Mm-hmm. And we see patients who have the additional fear of can I pay?
Not being able to pay, yeah. I remember when I lived in America, someone said to me when I was just there, you don't want to get sick here.
No,
it's so expensive.
It is expensive. The quality of care is really, really good. But if you're poor, if you're on the margins, then it's really difficult to access sometimes. But really, what's really the same is the three big challenges we're facing, both sides of the Atlantic. The three big challenges for us in the healthcare system globally, I think, are one to do with cost. In the United Kingdom, we spend almost 10 pence in every pound on healthcare. In the United States, we spend almost 18 cents in every dollar, so almost twice as much, right? Which is crazy. The second big problem beyond cost is chronic disease. Most clinical colleagues now will tell you that there's been a significant rise in the amount of chronic disease that people are seeing. And the final issue is that healthcare has become illness care. And so I think to transform healthcare, you have to transform health. And I think Juice Plus has a part to play in all of those issues, reducing cost, reconnecting healthcare to health, and putting people back in control of their lives.
Because it's that whole concept of not waiting till you're sick.
That's exactly right.
Solidifying or emboldening your health.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a great public health consultant called Michael Marmot, who's from the UK, works at WHO, and he talks a lot about agency and control. How do we take control of our own lives? How do we make good life choices? And he says that's predicated on one very important factor, and that's great life opportunities. Great life opportunities result in great life choices. And I think Juice Plus has proved itself to be a great life opportunity.
I know, I see it in Ireland. We suffered, as the whole world did, an economic recession. Yeah. And, I've been working in the nutrition industry nearly 2 decades, and I've never seen people more aware of preventative health and how important it is, because I think during the recession, one of the good things that came out of it was people weren't taking their health for granted, because it meant if they were sick, they couldn't work, they didn't earn any money, they couldn't afford private health insurance, they couldn't afford to get sick. So people were starting to really understand the importance of diet and exercise and preventative health in a role of keeping costs down. Do you see that, Nigel and Jeff, in your clinical practices?
I see it a lot. I mean, in fact, I'm maybe privileged in a way, because half of the people who come to see me are being proactive about their wellness, so they come for prevention, and it's very heartening to see that, because in conventional medicine, as a doctor, we're used to seeing people who are sick, and they come when they're ill, and this is where I feel there needs to be a paradigm shift. If we're really going to make an impact on disease in the future, we need to look at we need to empower people, first of all, to the knowledge of what they need to do to prevent those sicknesses, so they don't need the services of conventional doctors and conventional medicines. And of course, we all know from what we've discussed that phytonutrition and Juice Plus fits beautifully into that scenario. Because of all the things we've discussed, it empowers our cellular health, prevents disease. We can't say that, of course. We can't make that claim, but we all know it does that.
But we do have the evidence for with 35 published on PubMed studies, so that we can use that information quite effectively. Jeff, in your practice, you see how does the evidence and the security that you have as a healthcare professional help you when you're talking about nutrition and Juice Plus in particular with your patients?
Well, I think discussing the healthcare of the patients, I mean, what attracted me back to Juice Plus was the very strong clinical evidence base that the company have given us as clinicians. You know, we know that food is medicine, and we know from certainly the characterization study that Nigel was talking about yesterday, that we have food in a capsule and it's high quality phytonutrients that are in there. So increasingly as clinicians, we're called to work with a strong evidence base, and with this one product, we can very confidently give that to our patients and point them to the research and help them to understand that this is an evidence-based product. And then from the anecdotal standpoint as a clinician, the measurements we take in the clinic, we use regulation thermometry and bioresonance scanning through the meridians. We're seeing increasing toxicity and a burden on the lymphatic system and the liver, the biliary system. And what I can say, it's very unscientific, I can say that when we give our patients this foundational product, we see changes in those systems. So we have, anecdotal evidence that the food components that are in those capsules do what food does.
But the reality is, we're probably only scratching the surface when it comes to all of the different effects and positive effects that Juice Plus can have before we actually have the research to back it up. Mark, I want to bring you in now as well, because it's interesting what Anthony and Nigel and Jeff were both saying, that there's a paradigm shift. When you think about the World Health Organization, their definition of health used to be a lack of disease. Now it's not merely an absence of disease, it is a physical, social and mental well-being. So it's more than just not being sick. And when it comes to research, traditionally in pharmaceutical research, it was always looking at the lack of disease or the lack of symptoms or the amelioration of them. But now you're seeing with your work with the CRN that there has to be a change in thinking when it comes to what you're looking at in terms of markers of health.
Yeah, I gave a talk in Frankfurt in November as part of the CRNI conference that John and I helped to underwrite.
So just tell the audience what the CRN is, just in case.
CRN is Council for Responsible Nutrition. We have an international division based in Switzerland. The members are the biggest and the best and the most esteemed participants in the dietary supplement industry in North America and now globally. And we held a symposium in conjunction with the Codex Committee on Nutritional Foods for Special Dietary Uses. It was held in Bad Soden in November. And I was asked to open the conference talking about this paradigm shift, that we have to stop looking at research in the pharma model of research when it comes to natural products. And if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's the definition of insanity.
Right.
So why don't we take a more holistic view to the human being who is being administered substances like Juice Plus, and look at a wide array of biomarkers within the human that we can identify in the blood, in body tissues, etc., and start publishing that data. Because the very first research that John was alluding to, that we did at University of California in Los Angeles, 20 plus years ago, we took healthy people, we gave them Juice Plus. We took their blood studies on day one, and we saw something very interesting, that many of these apparently healthy young people had high levels of serum lipid peroxides. In English, that means they had rancidity in the fats in their blood. Is that right, John? Is that right, Manfred? After, 60 days of taking Juice Plus? After 28 days, those people did no longer have high levels of serum lipid peroxides. They still look the same. They look healthy. They're young, active, just like many of you in this audience. They didn't even know that they were at risk for certain things like cardiovascular disease.
Right.
Because clinically, unless you presented yourself to a physician and said, I'm not feeling well, there'd be no reason to do the investigation.
Right.
So it cycles back to something very fundamental about Juice Plus. Juice Plus is kind of like the living standard that Hippocrates should have had when he made his statement, let your food be your medicine. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, the blood showed that there were all these improvements and reductions in lipid peroxides, but I wondered, did they feel any better? You know, because that's what it all comes down to, isn't it? Is like how you feel. But the beauty of science is that you don't have to you take the emotion out of it, you take the actual, you know, that sense of feeling out of it. Because it's just data.
You're absolutely right. But again, I look around. How many people are coughing in this room?
Not very
I
many.
haven't heard anyone cough. Does anybody have a runny nose?
No.
All right, in a room of 3,000 plus people, what are the odds of that?
Pretty low.
I mean, think about that for a moment. And most of you had some adult beverages yesterday. So,
Grape juice.
so having said that, you have to start answering. So what is the impact of Juice Plus on healthy people? It's keep you healthy.
And the beauty of it is as well that we saw from the very first study, the current therapeutic research, that when you looked at baseline and then 7 days and 14 days and 28 days, the results were just getting better and better and better. So it's a cumulative thing. So 28 days and then, you know, another month, and then years and years and years. I'm so glad it's 17 years in my body.
But look, you take this product. All of us take this product, okay? So I was at a dinner last night that the Wilkies put on, and I was kindly invited. And I shared something fundamental. I said, look, if you take the product, within a very short period of time, people are going to ask you, what's different about you? Why do you have so much energy? Why do you look the way you look? Why do you have more energy than I'm used to seeing in you? What a great opportunity to communicate the value of the product that we've been manufacturing now for 20 plus years.
Yeah. I mean, in many ways, you don't need to know the science, you just need to know it's there, to use as like, you know, a comfort blanket or a big brother to back you up. You just have to be your own living, walking testament. John, I want to bring you back in and just maybe finish with you, because, you know, it all kind of started and has continued with the work that you've done and the insight that you had all those years ago, and especially with the research program that we have. When you look back at the last 25 years, what are you most proud of? What do you like the most that happened in your tenure?
Well, Emma, it's I think the fact that we have changed millions of lives for the better, it's a wonderful feeling.
Yes.
How many people are able to be in a business where we are making a difference in people's lives every day, our own, our families, our friends, and we have the opportunity to make a good living as well with the freedom and the flexibility that everyone wants in their life. And I look back 25 years ago, you know, the company was a little reluctant to go in this direction because there were a lot of people in this space already. And I remember Jay's instructions to me were, if we go there, you've got to find something that's unique, you know, not out there already, that's mainstream, so it's not from the rainforest to Borneo, you know, that it's basic, and what could be more basic than fruits and vegetables, and that it actually works. I don't think he expected that I'd come up with something, and now, all these years later, it's just a wonderful feeling because we hit that mark. And I think today, with the tremendous research program that we have behind it, and as you heard yesterday, it's continuing into areas that are on the cutting edge of clinical research for nutrition. And this is a really important point. This is a relationship business, and what's important are the emotions and the stories and the changing of people's lives. Would you agree? You know, that's what really sells the product. And when someone asks you, how could that happen? You just say, take a look at the clinical research and you'll understand how this product can do those things. So, in a sense, the clinical research gives us the freedom to share our stories, the freedom to tell them with confidence and without fear, because we've got the backup.
Yeah.
You know, and that is really important. And think of it this way. If you look at the studies, if you look at what's happened in all of our lives, did Juice Plus do that by itself? The answer is no. It's just like if you have a Ferrari and you put garbage in the gas tank, it's not going to run like a Ferrari. And this body is a Ferrari.
Yeah.
We were born with a Ferrari, a beautiful machine, but the machine needs the right fuel. So basically, Juice Plus is just giving the body the fuel that it's missing to do its good work. It was designed to protect us, to keep us healthy, and to live a long life. And Juice Plus is just contributing to it and helping the body work the way it was designed to work in the first place. So that's the story.
Yeah, it's just fruits and vegetables. It's your body that does the magic, right?
That's right.
And that's what we just have to remember. Isn't that right, Mark?
Also, it's a simple story.
Yeah.
I think Jay mentioned it last year. Don't try and take the back off of the television set to figure out why it works. Leave that up to these guys here. I mean, we've got some pretty bright fellows up here and ladies that are involved in research. We'll take care of the manufacturing for you. We'll make it for you in Switzerland. It'll be well made. We'll make sure that the product is exactly what it says it is. They'll make sure that the research continues. But you have to make sure you use the product, because the best advertisement for this is your own health, your own sense of happiness and well-being. And it will change your life. I mean, there's no question. If you are a happier, healthier person because of your relationship in this community, because of your taking responsibility for your own health and your own welfare, it will change your life. And God knows we need to change our lives and our communities all over the world for the better.
So it's all about